Bow, pow, pow, bow.
I said this. The death,
See what's
bro.
going on. We got the death of the most hated subculture. It don't even say where. It just say the most hated subculture in general.
You're right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we should go by them specifics, but we here to find out. You're also here, unless you probably already know. Probably. But listen though, subscribe if you're new. If not new, y'all know the vibe already. Like, comment, all of that. Tell us what else to react to. Social media already on the screen. So.
Yes, sir.
Main channel video, Reddit, Twitch.
In the UK during the 2000s, there was no word that could invoke as much anger as the word chav. No one wanted to know one, no one wanted to be called one, and no one wanted to be one. But somehow, they were everywhere.
Not too fast, like dickhead. That's f***ing too fast, dickhead.
Clothing brands that you didn't like were called chav. Rough neighborhoods were considered chav infested. But what exactly is a chav? And most importantly, where did they all go?
Hey, it's not a f***ing good day, is it?
The year was 2004. The prestigious Oxford Dictionary had just started its new feature called the Word of the Year. You know, this was a way of snapshotting the British public's conversation of the year. To give you an example, in 2013 the word was selfie, you had toxic in 2018, and in 2014 you had vape. So you kind of get the gist. However, in 2004, this was the first year they had ever done this list. And so what would be the most trendy word of that year? Well, it was chav. The word itself is said to have had its origins. Well, it was chav.
Yo, that nigga got on a Burberry shirt. And the nigga behind him got a Burberry shirt on too.
Yeah, but highlighter in his hand.
Nah, nigga, you know what that is. It's a vape ska.
That shit nasty.
Oh, that's a glow up stick that you crack. I don't know what that is.
The word itself is said to have had its origins in the Romani word chavi, or chavi. This was a word used to describe the youth. However, there has been many disputes over who is the originator of the word chav. Some claimed it came from a popular expression from a town called Chatham, where the phrase Chatham's average was abbreviated to mean chav. However, the most widely believed origin of the word was an acronym: Council, Housed and Violent. But look, before we get into how chavs behaved, let's get into how they looked. Each chav would be equipped with its own sports cap, maybe a stripy polo t-shirt, or a full...
I just want to point out something. I feel like
nah, this is crazy.
If guns were legal, not legal, or just as easy as it was to get over there as it is over here, them football hooligan niggas and these niggas would have been flocking shit. It would have been the same way, nigga. I promise you they would have been flocking shit, nigga. Niggas causing riots.
It was supposed to be on some like fun. Oh, yeah, we're going to see the football game. They're probably getting into a brawl.
All right, let my man get hit. I'm booming shit.
Like, and it's like, yeah, one nigga is gonna go overboard. And
well, saying though, you feel me? That one nigga get poked, one nigga booming some shit. Like
full sports tracksuit. They would have very bold jewellery, necklaces, and even piercings.
Damn, they were
Of course, a few tasteful tattoos. For haircuts, you had two options. Either you shaved it really low as a buzz cut, or you took half a job of hair gel, slapped it in your hair, and just spiked that baby up. If you wanted to go that extra mile, you could get some slits cut into your hair, or even a big Nike tick in the back of your head. And of course, no chav was complete without great footwear, which was typically something like a Nike Air Max. But then we had the ladies. Every female chav came with big hoop earrings. They would tie their hair back as tight as humanly possible, cover it in hairspray so not a single hair was out of place, and then tied it all off with a nice hair bunchie. Of course, they would wear thick makeup, bringing them to a slight orange hue, big colourful eyeshadow, yeah, obviously tons of jewellery, and then usually they would wear some sort of bright pink, maybe white or baby blue tracksuit. But you might have noticed one commonality between the two, which was a staple of all chaps, and that was Burberry. Burberry was established in 1856. It was a high-end British clothing manufacturer. But you see, things would start to change in the 1990s with the introduction of the logo wave. Now, suddenly, big, loud branding and logos were becoming fashionable amongst the working class. And what were considered more working-class people were starting to get their hands on these big luxury brands like Burberry. And they were somewhat considered like a status symbol in a community. And interestingly for Burberry, they started to lean into this new demographic. So much so that in the year 2000s, Burberry decked out Kate Moss in full Burberry for her wedding.
He gave me a diamond necklace which he had hidden down the crack of his ass.
However, things started to get a little out of hand pretty quickly. Just quickly, I've got a really important channel announcement to make.
Those gotta be
Burberry
fake.
house. That nigga had a Burberry house.
Yo, listen, I gotta be fake. Yo.
However, things started to get a little
Acceptable.
What the fuck is she wearing?
Like a over her bikini. You know how they be having the over shits? Acceptable. Completely acceptable.
I mean, I guess.
A cover for your horse is crazy. This is crazy. Yo, you're bugging, family. With a fucking link on top of your building, you're bugging, family.
That nigga put a whole H. Look at him. He in a call too. Damn.
Safe as fuck. Oh, safe as fuck.
These niggas.
Just quickly, I've got a really important channel announcement to make. I've officially become a lord. As you can see, my real name, Lord Kieran. I will also accept Lord Jimmy. Today's sponsor is Established Titles, and you using my
gosh,
will effectively
nigga
be
bought
next to my
a third of an
block.
inch.
We can own our own kingdom. So depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our own little Jimmy the Giant kingdom. It's an amazing last minute gift. Established Titles are going to establishedtitles.com started to turn on Burberry. And despite worldwide sales of Burberry on the rise during the 2000s, Burberry in the UK, where it was founded, had actually started to dip. In as little as 10 years, Burberry had managed to change its image from like this high-class brand to chavs. But you might be wondering, why is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, you see, how chavs dressed was only part of the reason they were so controversial. The other half was their behaviour. If you think about it, we tend to ascribe characteristics and traits to subcultures. If you think of emos, you're thinking of probably a moody, depressed teenager. Contrast that to the hippies who were chilled out and open-minded.
Fuck with the hippies, man.
Well, how do I put this? Let me read what the Urban Dictionary has to say for them. Chavs. A British stereotype. Male chavs wear fake Burberry, bought from sketchy market stalls. Trainers, fake gold jewellery. They're seen with cigarettes, drugs, and cheap alcohol. For example, Strongbow or Tesco's Value Lager. Chavs live in council houses and will steal your bike. Make sure you don't make eye contact or they'll yell at you in your face, but you won't understand what they're saying though.
Got Muppets on Facebook thinking you're bad, mate. I'll line every last one of your birds if I'm bum and one.
Understand what they're saying.
Now see somebody talks.
Thinking you're bad, mate. I'll line every last one of your birds if I'm bum and one by one. Fucking bear that must.
Wait, so we're gangs and this going on at the same time?
Probably, yeah.
Because they said they live in council houses, so was there like, you know, like OFB, like 10-11? Because like I'm thinking about it, like I'm pretty sure them niggas is like would have been like, yo, bro, look at these youths, bro. What are they doing, bro? Wearing Burberry. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I don't even.
and then if it wasn't, it's like, when did that start?
Wait, he said the year. I just don't like.
Nah, yeah, facts. Yeah, that might have been, you know.
Dressed was only part of the reason there was so teenager. Contrast that with this.
The monogamy even, yo.
Yeah.
They were loud-mouthed and aggressive. And there was one typical location that a person might bump into a chav, and that was at the shops. You see, honestly, in the 2000s, you couldn't walk down the shops to get a loaf of bread without bumping into a chav. They would harass you for a couple of minutes, try to take your phone, your wallet, or if they really took a strong dislike into you, you might receive what was known as a happy slap. I kid you not, happy slapping became like a national emergency. You see, it was around the same time as kids were starting to get a hold of camera phones. And so these young hoodlums would run up to a stranger, slap them, film it, and post it on the internet. You know, the thing about happy slapping that made it so egregious was that there was no real reason for it. Like, if someone robbed you, you would feel annoyed, but you would understand why they're doing it, because at least they're getting a phone and a wallet off of you. But happy
slapping niggas
made no sense.
with their kids is crazy.
Just cruel. And so this leads us to antisocial behaviour.
Come
This
on,
term was
bro.
like
You
the
know
boogeyman
niggas,
in
bro.
the 2000s.
Come on,
So much
gang.
so
You
there
would've
was
got
even the
shot,
introduction of
nigga.
a thing
Nah,
dubbed as
chill,
the ASBO,
bro.
the
Don't even
antisocial
say
behaviour
that.
order. The
GGN.
ASBO became not only a derogatory term used towards chavs, but in fact a badge of honour to chavs themselves. You see, the ASBO, which was started in 1999, was created to clamp down on this antisocial behaviour. But the highest of all ASBO honours, if you were such a problem child, would be that the government would literally strap an electronic tag around your ankle, which you could not remove, and if you tried to, the police would be at your door in like 5 minutes. The ASBO would put restrictions on your life. You might have like a radius of how far you could go, and if you went past it, I don't know, it's like hitting an edge of a map in a video game. Or it might mean that you can't leave the house after 10 o'clock at night. But nonetheless, these were kind of a badge of honour for the chaviest of all chavs. So as you can see, a war had started to grow between the general British public and chavs. Newspapers would continuously lament the word chav into everyday conversation. Like growing up personally in the UK, the word chav was just used all the time. If you didn't like the way someone talked or acted or the clothes they wore, you would call them a chav, and that was a pretty bad insult. Like I kid you not, everywhere you looked in British comedy in the 2000s, you would find heavy references to chavs. You had Vicky Pollard in Little Britain.
New bat, year bat, new bat.
You had the Ali G show and all the films that surrounded it. The character Lee Nelson, and even the
There was a
internet
show
legend
to that?
MC
Nah, I
Devil.
need to watch that show.
But as well, there were like serious
Fucking
TV
hell,
shows such as
dickhead.
Benefits Street and Benefits Britain. These kind of showed like the middle classes of England what it was like to be a chap. These characters would also pop up in the world of real celebrities. You had Jordan, aka Katie Price, Jade Goody, N-Dubs. Comment below if you want a full video on N-Dubs. And the tabloids would follow and criticise these chavvy celebrities for the way they dressed, the way they spoke, the way they behaved, the way they breathed. You know, I think over time and like with reflection, the British
Like nasty,
attitude
it's crazy.
towards chavs could definitely be viewed as a little bit snobby. It got to a point where the Prime Minister, David Cameron, had to do a speech in defence of chavs.
Hoodies are often more defensive rather than offensive. They're a way to stay invisible in the street. The best thing can sometimes be to keep your head down, to blend in, don't stand out.
This speech was later referred to as hug a hoodie because he makes reference to the word hoodie, which became another word that was used to describe chav. It was truly a war in the public sphere. The author and journalist Owen Jones, who I have to admit I don't really agree with him on a lot, he wrote an entire book called Chavs, the demonisation of the working class. The description of the book reads as follows. In modern Britain, the working class has become an object of fear and ridicule. From Little Britain's Vicky Pollard to the demonisation of Jade Goody. Media and politicians alike dismiss as feckless, criminalise and ignorant of us. Underprivileged swath of society whose members have become stereotyped by one hate-filled word, chavs. So what was really going on here? Were this generation of so-called chavs becoming increasingly degenerate, more violent and criminal, or were they being unfairly ridiculed by the judgmental middle class and upper class? But then somewhere around the mid-2000s, something interesting started to happen. In 2004, a film called Bullet Boy was released. In 2006, a film called Kidulthood was released. This led to a series, Adulthood in 2008 and Brotherhood in 2016. There was this definite rise in films that showed a different perspective on chavs. One that showed it more from the inside and not the outside as we had been looking at it before. But something's not quite
Don't tell me that.
because the word chav doesn't really...
Don't tell me before 2005. It wasn't really like this.
On chat. One that showed it more from the inside and not the outside as we had been looking at it before. But something's not quite right because the word chav doesn't really fit in here to describe what we're seeing. Chav was usually used to describe a working class person with a specific taste in fashion, an aggressive attitude, and were predominantly white. But into the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s, the ethnic demographic of London was changing. And London has, and always will be, the cultural capital of the UK. Trends start in London and spread out to the rest of the UK. And so as London was changing demographically, so too was the culture, which started to influence the working class, and I suppose you could say chav culture at large. I'll give you an example. If you look at this clip here from Adulthood, pretty hard to say that this is the same as this clip of MC Devo, at least aesthetically.
Like little kids don't mind me or all like that, they call me like Uncle fucking Devo and that. And like I hand out sweets and a bit of booze and they fucking love that.
They're not exactly wearing the loud, colourful designs and Burberry, etc. Something was changing.
Huh? The
Toward
street,
end
y'all was
of the
adopting the
2000s and
streets.
into the early 2010s, the word chav itself was kind of in a limbo. This once trendy word used to insult everything was now kind of old-fashioned. And people started to notice as they walked down to their local Tesco's, there were a few Burberry-clad chavs that were throwing sweets at you and yelling mean things. And look, it's not only me that noticed this. If you type in, "where did chavs go?" into Google, there are plenty of other people that noticed it as well. Now you see, it's at this point where I wish there were minds greater than mine that could explain this social phenomenon. Owen Jones was actually asked in an interview what happened to chav. He makes the claim that the left-wing Labour Party started to abandon the working class. And so in a bid for the right-wing Conservative Party to appeal to the working class, they stopped using the word chav to degrade them and rather tried to turn the working class against the uppity middle class, who tended to look down on them on their views on things like Brexit. And it's an interesting theory, but I don't think the media is the be-all and end-all of the word chav. I don't think it ever was. This was a word that originated organically within culture. And that specific change I explained in politics only happened around 2016. The word chav was changing before then. And I can tell you my theory.
So basically what happened was, it was majority white.
So
all the niggas that was doing whack shit was called chavs, and then when a lot more colored people of color came in, they was like, alright, now these niggas we have to.
We gotta pack them up.
And the second wave of grime music in the UK was a massive influence on the rebrand of what was originally called chaps. Around the sort of mid-2010s, Stormzy and Skepta, as well as specifically the song German Whip by Meridian Dan, it started to be very successful in the charts. For the first time in a very long time, grime music and UK rap was starting to be popular again. And this new wave of UK rap brought with it an aesthetic. When you saw Stormzy and Skepta, they didn't dress tacky, instead they kind of looked stylish. I think one really pivotal moment was the lyric that Skepta tacky, but instead of UK rap brought with it an aesthetic. When you saw Stormzy and Skepta, they didn't dress tacky, but instead they kind of looked stylish. I think one really pivotal moment was the lyric that Skepta said in the song That's Not Me, where he states, and I shall read, "Yes, I used to wear Gucci, but I put it all in the bin, because that's not me." I mean, this was just a lyric in a song, but I do think it was kind of a powerful thing to say. Because what Skepta did was show that he was proud of who he was and where he was from. And he didn't feel that he needed to wear the designer clothing to fit into society. But instead he could just be himself and be respected for it. And very quickly, Skepta himself became a fashion icon, popularizing what some would call the roadman.
So roadman.
The roadman aesthetic changed fashion globally. Nowadays, you could see someone like Rishi Sunak wearing a hoodie. If he did that in the 2000s, he would be fired. And sportswear brands are no longer seen as only worn by like the poorer working class, but instead is stylish and worn by celebrities globally. Like, I kid you not, there has been runway models dressed as roadmen. The rise of UK rap and drill has...
No, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, fashion definitely changed. I didn't even know that outlook was like that. Couldn't wear no hoodie. And if you wore like sports fashion, it was lower class.
Yeah, like tracksuits and shit.
Nigga, I like my Nike. Fuck right.
No cap. I like to be comfortable and shit, nigga.
What's up with you niggas?
Changed what working class youth culture looks like. But not only that,
if I saw that nigga coming on the block.
That's what I'm saying.
Now it's a problem. You can't see that nigga.
At all.
Yo.
Not only that, also what it thinks of itself. Because there is like a notable attitude change between roadmen and chavs. Your chav was typically seen as lazy, aggressive, and tacky. However, roadmen are seen as ambitious, aggressive, and stylish. And the celebrities that represent that culture have been very well respected by society. Like, if you contrast Stormzy's public image versus N-Dubs in the 2000s, N-Dubs were constantly looked down upon and ridiculed. No one really looks down on Stormzy and Skepta. The UK actually set them down upon and ridiculed.
It was probably like, what is
no
this
one
nigga?
really looks down on Stormzy and Skepta. The UK actually celebrates them. But I do just want to take a second here. I'm not trying to say that roadmen are like these aspirational role models of society. There is obviously still a plethora of problems in roadman culture. However, I'm more trying to talk about this from like an external perspective. For instance, Drake co-signed the UK rap scene. That was a massive moment. He also revived an iconic UK TV show called Top Boy. And despite the criminality, showed a ambitious, complex side to that that culture. And with that, the British attitude towards chavs and roadmen, it started to change. I can point to a single moment that really stands out for me, and that was when I was with like a relative. She was a 50-year-old woman, and the song Shut Up by Stormzy came on, and she proceeded to sing every single word perfect. And I realized in that moment that something had changed. I can't begin to explain how common it is now for middle and upper class people to use like street lingo. Oh well, go on Becky, you're looking bad, you know. They talk different, they wear streetwear now, and they listen to music that isn't just rock. But all of this does leave one single question. Are there any chavs left? I would say that considering the word is pretty much dead now, and that roadmen were kind of the evolution of the chavs, most of the chavs got swept up in that, it is very rare to find a remaining chav. They do exist. I present you the Bad Boy Chiller Crew. Yeah, I would say these guys are your classic chavs, and they've
Get the fuck about this juice, man.
This music that was quintessential 2000s chav music.
Niggas got that Burberry on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
over like a donk beat, MC Small
needs.
That's
Baby Shower
when I
work.
play the game. Oh, I know that whole song. On top of that, there's been a resurgence in
What
this
back then,
chav
man? Yeah,
trend
they was
on
taking
TikTok.
shit.
I didn't really know about that one. And on top of that, FKA Twigs dressed in full Burberry in a music
Shit
video.
crazy. Really back then, niggas really taking your whole jacket off your body. Let me see that.
Biggies, 8 balls.